talk about distance in the coordinate plane. So let's start with our vocabulary first. If you remember, our x-axis is the horizontal number line in the coordinate system. The y-axis is the vertical number line in the coordinate system. And then remember that origin, that is the point that is located at 0, 0 in our coordinate plane. Points are located in reference to the x-axis and the y-axis. Ordered pairs are always named x and then comma y, and they always have those parentheses around them as well. It is possible to find the length of a horizontal or vertical line drawn in a coordinate plane. One way you can find the length is by plotting the points, drawing the line, and then counting to find the length. Let's actually just slide down here and let's look at an example. So if I have the points 4, 3, and 4, 8. So let's go ahead and plot these. So 4, 3, I'm going to start at the origin. I'm going to go over to 4 and then up to 3, plot with a dot. And then 4, 8, I'm going to start at the origin, go over to 4, go up to 8, plot with a dot. And then we can just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5 is the distance on that one. Let's look at another example. If we have 2, 1, so I look right here, I'm going to start at the origin, I'm going to go over 2, up 1, plot with a dot. And then 9, 1, I'm going to go over 9, up 1, plot with a dot. And then we can just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so those are two ways. That's one way that we can find the length of a line is just by counting how many spaces it is from one endpoint to the other endpoint. You can also find the length of a vertical or horizontal line in the coordinate plane by using the coordinates of the endpoints. The endpoints of a horizontal line have the same y-coordinate and different x-coordinates. To find the distance between the endpoints of a horizontal line, you're going to subtract the x-coordinates. Okay, so let's look at an example. So we had for a horizontal line, that would be like this one. This one was horizontal, right? And that was, that was this down here. So it says our y-coordinates are different, or I'm sorry, our y-coordinates are the same. So we see that they're both 1. So I'm going to just cross off the y there. And I see that my x-coordinates are different. So I'm going to subtract the x-coordinates. So I'm just going to take 9 minus 2. Well, 9 minus 2 is 7. Which is correct. That's the same number of boxes that we counted when we drew it on our coordinate plane. So two different ways that we could find that distance. Now the endpoints for a vertical line have the same x-coordinates and different y-coordinates. So to find the distance between endpoints of a vertical line, you're going to subtract the y-coordinates. Okay, so let's look at an example. So down here you can see our x's are the same. The first number in our ordered pair, the x's are the same. So we're going to subtract our y-coordinates. So we're going to take 8 minus 3, and that equals 5, which was the same as when we counted over here on our coordinate plane. You can find the area and perimeter of a polygon by finding the lengths of its sides, by finding the length of the sides of a polygon in a coordinate plane. Okay, so let's go ahead and flip to the inside and take a peek at our assignment here. So if you notice our first 4 questions, you're just finding the length of a line with the following endpoints. Notice it just gives us the endpoints. We don't have a coordinate plane, so you're not going to graph them, so you're going to have to look to see, are my x coordinates different or are my y coordinates different? So I see that on these two endpoints, they both start with 0. So that means the x-coordinate is the same and my y-coordinate is the one that's different. So I'm just going to find the difference between my between my y coordinates. And that's all you're doing for those first 4. Now 5 and 6 is where it gets a little bit trickier. Number 5 says we're finding the perimeter of a rectangle with the following vertices. So it gives us those 4 endpoints. Now I feel like it helps if we sketch a picture of what that rectangle looks like. And it starts with the endpoint A, B, C, and D. Okay, now having that visual, I know that I'm finding the perimeter, so I need to find the lengths of the sides. Well, from the method that we learned on the front, we can use those endpoints to find our different lengths. So I know I need to go from A to B. So I'm looking at what is the distance from A to B. Well, endpoint A was 1, 1, and endpoint B was 1, 6. If I look at those two ordered pairs, they have the same x value, so that means I'm finding the difference between the y. So I'm going to take 6 minus 1, and that equals 5. So I know A to B was 5. Now, knowing what we know about rectangles, if A to B is 5, that means C to D is also 5. But now I also need to know what's the distance from B to C. So I'm going to do B to C. B's ordered pairs was 1, 6, and the ordered pairs for C were 4, 6. So I notice that they have the same y coordinate, so that means I'm subtracting my x coordinates. So I'm going to take 4 minus 1, which gives me 3. Now I know the lengths of all my sides, and I can find the perimeter. Now number 6 is similar, but it's asking us to find the area of a triangle whose base goes from those endpoints and the height has those endpoints. So I'm going to kind of set you guys up. Same thing here, base, and our endpoints were 6, 1, and 10, 1. So we can find the distance between those to give us our base. Then we're going to do the same thing for the height. The height was 6, 1 for an endpoint and 6, 7 for an endpoint. So we can find the distance for those two pieces, the base and the height. And then we're just plugging them into that formula for area of a triangle. If you forgot that formula, look back at your notes from our last unit to see what the formula was for that. Then you can find the area of your triangle. Now 7 is the same thing except for it's putting together perimeter and we're finding area. So you're going to have multiple answers for this on Canvas. So again, I would sketch your rectangle. K, L, M, N. All right, and we're going to have to find the side lengths. So we want to know we're going from K to L. And we have the endpoints for K of 0, 5, and for L 0, 10. So we can use those endpoints to find that length. And then I also need to find what's L to M. So the endpoints for L were 0, 10, and M were 7, 10. So now we can use those endpoints to find our lengths, and then we can find the perimeter and the area for that. Don't forget, it also gives you a grid to plot those points and double check by counting right over here. All right, 6th grade, if you have any questions, let us know. You got this.